your position's been made. The UAV has detected heat signatures at your 20. We have no available support, so you'll have to fight your way through to Ramirez's location.
You know, looking back on it, Sony unleashed a real monster when they released the PlayStation 2. Things sold more than 140 million systems before they just stopped counting in April of 2010, and the only reason they did that was because real numbers don't go any higher. So these days, we just make them up. The PS2 has sold roughly 198 gajillion systems to date, and when a company sells 198 gajillion of anything, that product tends to stick around. But in terms of video game consoles, they tend to stick around longer than they should. And although there were lots of incredible games during the historically long lifespan of the PS2, late in the life cycle there were also games like this. This is Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon Advanced Warfighter, or as it perhaps should have been called on the PS2, Regressed Warfighter. Here's the problem with Advanced Warfighter on the PS2. This game was released for the Xbox 360 just 5 months after it launched. So, understandably, most of Ubisoft's development effort went into that HD version. But of course, 198 gajillion is a whole lot of people, so another Ubisoft team was responsible for retrofitting Advanced Warfighter to the PS2, and that's what they did. They took a very good game and made it not so good.
On the roof, but I'm taking heavy RPG fire and cannot extract. New objective, take out those RPGs.
It's not like this is just a lower resolution adaptation of the 360 game. This is almost a completely different game altogether. The story and mission structure are pretty much the same, but just about everything else was changed for the PS2. It strips away the game's third-person option entirely, and it also reduces the amount of other soldiers you can control to just one. Basically, controlling this game is like having a flashback to Khe-Sanh. Even functions as simple as aiming and moving feel clunky and awkward. It's like you're playing with a D-pad in a way. Performing subtle movements is much more difficult than it should be with analog control. Or at least with what's supposed to be analog control. There's also some real problems with the functional and aesthetic aspects of Advanced Warfighter's level design, which also changed in the move to PS2. The environments have been scaled back dramatically in terms of detail and size, and that gives the game a sort of claustrophobic feel that just doesn't seem to fit. You're supposed to be fighting in these outdoor environments, but they actually feel more like narrow hallways. The visual downgrade most noticeably affects the game's animations. The enemies move in jerky, almost zombie-like lurches. They have so few frames per animation, they sort of move in a hyphenated fashion. In fact, you know how you can draw images on a few sheets of paper and crudely animate them by flipping through? That's literally what Advanced Warfighter looks like. And combined with the awkward controls, it makes aiming at enemies an incredible hassle. You know, it's one thing to port a game to another platform, but it's quite another to completely ruin a game in the process. And really, that has nothing to do with the system. I'm not blaming the PS2. It may not be the Xbox 360 in terms of power, but it can certainly handle more than this. The bottom line is, this is what happens when you try to cash in on a massive install base with a cheap, dirty, and frankly shameless downgrade. It was nice to see the series continue on the PS2, even in the console's twilight years, but in the case of the almost unplayably bad Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon Advanced Warfighter, perhaps it shouldn't have.
Hostile armor sighted! Bravo here. That did it. The road is blocked and enemy armor cannon...